Welcome, and thanks for joining us on Pave the Way. I'm Jonathan Brown. Here
Patrick Mullen.
with Patrick Mullen, and we got Austin in the field. Austin, can you hear us?
I can barely hear you perfect, though.
You can barely hear us. So today we're going to talk about our site assessment that we do for some of our commercial customers on their commercial properties. Austin's kind of out in the field, so we can show you some of the things that we would look for when we're doing a site assessment. So real quick into it. This is what a site assessment will look like. This is a report that we would send over to a customer after we've done an assessment on their property. This is one we did for a Wendy's in Rancho Cordova. So we're gonna.
For anyone who doesn't know, the site assessment report is free. We'll come out, and what we're doing is basically evaluating your parking lot to see what's good, what's okay, and what's not good, and what should be addressed now, things that can be addressed in the future, and how to join our Asphalt Life Extension program that will basically make it so your parking lot will last almost forever.
Great description of it. This is actually something that we built. We think there's a lot of value. I think a lot of people don't know what's going on in their parking lots. They may see it every day, they drive through, but they don't really know how to assess it and know what's going on. So we spent a bunch of time creating this, so it'd make it very easy. We can show someone in a report, especially if it's someone who manages a property remotely. They're not there all the time. We can give them a report of what's going on, and they can see what's happening with their property over time.
The report comes with pictures and descriptions of the different items and where we see your parking lot on the scale.
So we're going to start with this running through the report with people information page we put in their front, a little bit about our company. We've already explained all that with you.
Pretty loud in the back.
Are you driving that truck, Austin?
There we go. That's better.
There we go. We muted him. You can't hear us now. So what we have is here's kind of a graph that you can kind of see, and what this
he
is.
He can hear us. We can't hear him.
Oh, can you hear us?
I can hear you a little bit now. There's a big rig that came by.
Okay.
Are you talking about alligatoring of the pavement?
We haven't gotten there yet.
Not yet.
Oh, okay. Hey, just point when it's my turn.
We will.
We'll chime in.
We'll make sure you hear us. So this is kind of a little graph that we have. It's on here. It's about the life cycle of asphalt. Asphalt actually, once you do it, it'll stay kind of steady, which you can kind of see in here. So it stays steady. And when it starts to fail, it can fail real quick. There's warning signs to look for. That's what we want to talk about today, how to protect that. Because if you do light maintenance on your parking lot, it can make it last, like Pat said, forever. But it's something that you have to catch, because once it starts to go downhill, it makes it much more difficult to stay on top of.
Almost forever.
Almost forever. Okay, so the first thing when it comes to asphalt, the biggest problem, the enemy, I say, of asphalt is water, right? Rain, water runoff from like sprinklers, water getting into the asphalt, and not actually on the asphalt, that's not the problem, but through cracks. Cracks will start to form, and then water gets into these cracks, and that's really where all of your problems are going to start from asphalt. So, Austin.
Really, but this is what some alligator asphalt looks like.
Hey, do you have some cracks? Start with some cracks. Can you show us cracks?
Yeah.
On the asphalt crack.
Here's an asphalt crack.
So as you can see from there, water can get into that pretty easily, especially if it's supposed to slope down that way and move that direction. Water's going to get into there, get between the asphalt and down into the subbase.
That was a pretty wide crack, and I don't know if you saw it, but there was a little kind of half circle coming off of that crack. That is the very beginning of alligatoring. Once that starts to happen, it's creating cracks for the water to get through, pull the subgrade away, make it softer, and then that crack will just grow into more cracks and more cracks and more cracks. And we've seen it get this big in no time.
That's a lot of cracks.
No, but really, we have measured parking lots, and literally within 1 year have seen it grow 50%. So the whole idea behind this podcast is getting you to want to maintain your parking lot so that it lasts longer. Obviously, it's in our best interest for you to not maintain it, so then we can bid it to remove and replace it. But we're not here just to make money. We're here to help everybody. And in turn,
asphalt's a big investment. I mean, redoing your parking lot costs a lot. I would hope that if we redo your parking lot, it's something that'll be the last time while you own that property, that parking lot will have to be redone. And we think by maintaining it and watching it. So if we can help you extend the life of the parking lot you have now for another 5 or 10 years, we'd rather do that. And then in 5 or 10 years, then we can replace your parking lot with you. work together on the project, but we want to make them last as long as we can.
Yeah.
So these are the warning signs you should be looking for. All right, Austin, are you with us?
I'm here. I'm here.
Okay, so now I know you've been excited, but now let's see the alligator.
There's the alligator, and it starts. You can see it in the parking lot right here.
Oh yeah.
That's an alligator and coming into the parking lot where water's gotten underneath the asphalt, and this is where cars tend to brake when leaving the parking lot, which creates the pavement to move. And actually, we've got some in the roadway too. You can see where the path of travel would be for the vehicle tires. And after time, water gets under there and it starts popping up and ends up being no good and starts creating potholes, which you see everywhere, where they look like they've tried to do some patching. And then next thing you know, everything starts falling apart and you got to do a full replacement.
Yeah, so the asphalt you see here is pretty much spent. That's not going to be fixable. They can do, something like that. You can do maybe a fiber.
You can do a fiber overlay.
Yeah.
Or you can do a Petromat overlay. Yeah. I'm not a huge fan of the Petromat. I think the fiber lasts a lot longer, but it is quite a bit more expensive than adding. The fiber is quite a bit more expensive than just doing a Petromat overlay. But
so
it's a better product.
Those are things that we're for sure looking for. A crack, like you saw the first one, an alligatoring. That's another big one. That's a real bad sign. You can see that's even on the city street, so it's certainly not uncommon. But the city streets also have a lot of AB underneath it. They have a lot of subgrade prep work that was done. They may even have some other like lime treating or something done. On most commercial parking lots, you're going to have maybe a little bit of AB under that asphalt, or they might even just have dirt. There might be no AB. And if that's the case, then it's gonna fail a lot faster. Once that water starts getting in there, it's gonna really fail because it's eroding that dirt underneath the cracks.
What we do find is that sometimes older roads, like the one that he's on right now, actually sometimes they will have built them on dirt. And that is where you get a lot of expansion and contraction from small amounts of water that can ruin the asphalt really quickly.
Hey, Austin, do you have any potholes?
Yeah.
Or starter potholes?
You see any potholes?
Potholes.
I didn't lean forward. That was my fault.
Yeah. Kevin knows we're talking
Actually,
to.
no potholes. The only ones I showed you are in the road.
Gotcha.
So alligator is going to lead to a pothole. That's what you're going to have next is once those pieces start to chunk out or they start to drop down lower because all the dirt underneath it's getting soft. That's what's going to lead to potholes. All right, just running through our report. Another thing that we would look for is we look for lifted areas of asphalt or concrete that are lifted from tree roots. I don't know if Austin, tree roots.
Tree roots.
Yeah.
Well, here you go. Here's where the asphalt you can see is sank in rows. We got some redwood trees. I'll show you that.
Yep.
Yeah, and that you can see the dirt coming over. There's a lot of watering going on there. Those are some big trees which will pick up. Whoa,
piss up?
Yeah. They'll put up some big roots, which really a root can lift anything. It can lift concrete. It can lift asphalt. It can lift a house slab if it really was a big enough root, right? We see that. We'll see it all the time. So lifting of the asphalt curbs. If you see a curb that's not flat anymore and it's got a big old hump in it, that's going to be a sign that you have tree root lifting.
And again, that all comes from water. It all starts with water. The tree roots are there. The tree is growing. It's trying to find water, so it's shooting its roots out. What we do recommend in a lot of areas like that is that when you're building a parking lot like that, put some tree root barrier in. If you know you're going to put a tree in that's going to get huge and have big roots, you put tree root barriers right along the edge of your curb that go 2 feet deep, and it directs the roots down instead of underneath your parking lot. So that should solve the tree root problem.
Just a couple more things that I run through that I don't think Austin's going to see. But we're looking for signs of standing water, which is markings on the ground where water sits, because that's another thing you don't want, especially if there's cracks in that standing water spot. Water will sit there till it goes down to the cracks or evaporates into the air, and that's also a bad sign. Base failure, which would be like a pothole or where you see the ground starting to flex where all these alligatoring are. That's something that we're going to look for. Broken sprinklers or lots of water runoff. He kind of showed you that planter. If you have a sprinkler that's on and it's pumping a lot of water out into this parking lot, that's going to cause problems. It's just unneeded water. Here in the Sacramento area, we're only getting rain in the winter. So summer, you're mostly clear. But if your sprinklers are on, especially in the summer, and they're pumping tons and tons of water out into your parking lot, it's going to create problems because it's extra added water that's not needed. and it's going to sit in these cracks and settles and start to make your base fail. Also, I had in here one thing we look at is your drainage. Water needs a good way to drain. If your DIs or your drain inlets are getting blocked up by tree branches or leaves or just not draining properly, it makes that water back up, which makes it sit on the asphalt. And a lot of times we find a lot of cracking around drainage inlets because that's where a lot of, well,
there's always a break between the concrete from your drain inlet to the asphalt that your parking lot is built out of. So it's a great spot for, if it's not sloped well enough and sloped so that the water flows fast enough, you'll have areas that are pockets where it can sink down in and basically start compacting the subgrade or washing it away. And then you start to get cracks off of that and alligatoring coming off of that.
So that's really what we look for with asphalt. On our assessment, we do some other stuff. We'll run through some of your ADA, which I'm not really going to dabble in today because we are going to do an ADA podcast coming up. So the last things we're looking for is we're going to go look to see if the parking lot's being maintained, if it's swept, if it's clean, if there's gate damage or fence damage, if we're looking for the dumpster, if your dumpster area has a bunch of damage or concrete or it's been backed into by a truck. These are all kind of little things that we want to put into this report, get some pictures of, and send them to our customers so they can kind of see what's going on. This is something that I hope our customers can keep on file for this property. They manage 150 properties. They can have a report for each property and know where they stand. So they can go back and say, like, oh, on April, what are we at today? 7th, 2022, this is what my property looked like. And then in 3 years, they have this report and they have something they can compare to. Like, holy crap, look at how much bigger this cracking is getting or how much worse it's getting.
It helps build budgets. You know, a lot of these larger property management companies, they run off of fiscal year budgets and they allocate certain funds that are supposed to be used in that year. You know, so what we want to do is give you guys an idea of what you should do now and what can wait and about how long you're going to get out of what we're doing now for you. Trying to extend the life of your parking lot so that it stops getting worse, and go from there.
Absolutely. All right, Austin, you got anything else good for us or what?
Yeah, I was going to say that I don't know if you touched on it, but that assessment also is like just a safe prevention. You know, things to look for, things coming up. You know, your maintenance schedule on your parking lot. Just covers all areas, and it's something that you can see. And obviously, we'll coach you through it and make you understand, and definitely tell you what's necessary first.
Yep.
Because if you go backwards, you have a drainage issue. We repave it. You're still going to have a drainage issue at the end of the day. So we'll help you make the right decisions and spend the money where it needs to be spent.
Awesome.
Yes, sir.
Sounds good.
All right.
So I'd say hit us up on all of our social medias. We're all over Facebook and Instagram. Check me out on LinkedIn. I know I'm on there a bunch. Send me a message. Email your photos. So what you can do though is I'd like you, if you have these things in your parking lots, email your photos to us. Email them at estimating@bm-builders.com. That's on the screen right there in front of us. Actually, I have to do that. That's what my kids
Talk to your landlord, you know, especially if you're running a business that, you know, people want to see something nice and neat and clean. You know, people first impressions come from when they pull into your parking lot, and you know, you can't make a first impression twice. So
yeah, this is all part of our B&M University that we're building to kind of educate people on how to maintain and to save themselves money over the long term, because that's really what we're here for. We're here to help out. We're here to educate and make you in the know so you can make good decisions.
Feel free to, like he said, give us a buzz. Go to our website, drop us a line there. You can ask questions on here that we'll get back to you.
Yep.
And thanks for joining us.
Thank you. Thanks a lot, Austin.
See you later.
All right, man.